Get a giant productivity boost through better management of resources. The completely new Resource Manager gives you improved access by allowing access to multiple libraries from one comprehensive interface, including libraries that are hosted online. Searchability and organization of information are also huge parts of the management of resources now. Additionally, the interface elements that allow you to pick resources found in the mode bar, in the attribute palette, and inside many dialogues have undergone a complete overhaul and are now much more than simple menus. They've become a full-blown resource manager with file navigation, search, filtering, and much more. In fact, finding resources here is so efficient that you will often not need to use the Resource Manager palette anymore and use the full palette only for when intensely working with one resource type. The Resource Manager can be opened or closed quickly with the Command R or Control R keyboard shortcut. The auto hide functionality of the manager is on by default, allowing you to mouse over the top bar of the Resource Manager to expand it, but it can also be locked open by clicking the plus icon at the top left of the palette. The top bar contains functions, the left column for navigation, the middle contains resources, and the right shows a big preview of and any data attached to the selected resource. We'll start from the top. The first thing on the top left are the resource type filter buttons, which control what libraries you see listed on the left. The first icon enables or disables the display of the Vectorworks default libraries shipped with Vectorworks. The second will show or hide workgroup and user libraries stored in your user folder or workgroup folders respectively. The third controls the display of your favorite files, and the last controls the display of subscription resources, such as those that come with Vectorworks Service Select. With all of these disabled, you'll only see the resources of currently open files. Actions menu handles the management of resources and handling favorites. Browse a document will let you quickly view the resources of a selected file without having to add it to your favorites or open it directly, and it will appear as a listed item on the left until you browse another document, but it can be kept if you add it as a favorite. The next set of commands allows you to add and remove favorite files from your favorites list, but you can also easily create favorite folders for quick organization of complex libraries of favorite files that you may accumulate. Refresh libraries will automatically recheck all of the selected resource locations and make sure you're seeing all included objects, styles, and attributes that may have been added to these libraries since the last time you launched Vectorworks. This happens automatically on startup, but can be done manually instead of having to restart the application. The refresh command, if necessary, also downloads what is known as a resource catalog, which is a smaller index of all the available library files that not only lists what libraries are available, but also includes a pre-rendered icon of that resource to keep the index size low, meaning that you can search libraries that you don't even have installed on your machine. A quick note, libraries can be downloaded and installed in a number of ways. The simplest method, and the one we normally recommend, is to simply use Help, Download Content, and then click Install All at the top right. This will download and install all resource libraries available for your modules of Vectorworks. However, if you don't want to install them all right away, the libraries that need to be downloaded have an icon on them indicating that need, both on the library file list on the left and on each resource item icon in the center. In this case, you can either right-click on an item in the list and choose to download it right away, or simply go to use or import the resource and Vectorworks will automatically start downloading the needed library. The purpose of this is to give you control over your network usage, whether you have intermittent internet access or download size limitations. Open will of course open the selected resource file, and Reveal in Finder, or Show in Explorer, will open up the location that a selected resource file resides in on your machine directly. Back and forward buttons allow quick navigation similarly to Finder or Windows Explorer. They simply take you to the previous and next locations you were viewing in the folder hierarchy of a given file. View controls allow thumbnail view, list view, and thumbnail list views in the center column. Resource display can be filtered by type. Select all resources to see everything in the selected file or folder, or any specific resource type to see only that type within the selected file or folder. One of the best features, however, is the search function. From here, you can look for any type of resource that the Resource Manager contains. By default, it will search everything, including all open files and all object libraries. But you can narrow this down to only the libraries shown on the left or only the current selected file. Include Records lets you choose whether the records attached to objects are searched or not, making it much easier to look for objects via a record field that you might already know they would share. You can control whether upper or lowercase letters matter in the search string or not. The default is to ignore them. Finally, you can control whether the search will look for the titles of resources that simply contain your search term, begin with it, or whether that exact word or set of words matches the name or tag of a resource. The left column is a list of the files your resources are contained in by category. These can be expanded or collapsed, similarly to the method used in the organization or navigation palettes for classes. You can even hold down Alt to expand or collapse all subfolders of a document or library at once. This gives you direct one-click access to all important locations, like default libraries, resources archived in the workgroup folder, favorites, and so on. If you right-click or control-click in a blank area of the center pane of the Resource Manager, you'll see a View As option, which simply controls the same views as the 3 buttons at the top mentioned earlier. Sort By will work differently depending on which resources are being shown. If you're only looking at one resource type, such as hatches, it will let you choose ascending or descending sort. If you're looking at all resources, the menu will be slightly different and will let you choose to sort by resource type or by resource name. Right-click on a resource to see context-sensitive choices. Different resources will have different options. Apply will, as you may have guessed, apply the attribute, be it a texture, hatch, or line style, to any appropriate selected object. Edit will bring up the editing dialog for the selected resource. This will be a different dialog depending upon the resource type. You can often rename this from the Edit dialog, but you can also just use the Rename command directly to save a step, or click again on the same name to rename an item similarly to how you can rename items through the rest of your operating system. Delete will remove the resource from the currently browsed document, and if it was already in use, will prompt you to choose its replacement. Duplicate will create another copy of the selected resource with a slightly altered name, usually a 1 or a 2 after it. This is mainly useful when you want a slightly different variant of a selected resource. Resources in open files can be tagged by you, with any custom values you like to help make searching for them easier. This tag will then appear in the Data section of the manager and can of course be edited at any time. You can tag a single object or multiple objects at once. Finally, on this menu, Export will let you send a resource from a currently browsed document into a specified file, good for sharing a resource with another project, or for quickly adding a newly made resource to an established favorites file without having to open it manually. The center pane is also where you can easily organize resources. You can select one or more resources of any type, create folders for them, and then drag the desired files into folders either in the center pane or in open folders within the left pane. The right column of the Resource Manager houses specifics about the currently selected resource. It contains a detailed high-res view of the selected resource. This pane can be resized by both the vertical and horizontal bars above and to the left of the preview pane for easier viewing. Depending upon the type of resource, you're also able to choose the view the preview shows, as well as wireframe, OpenGL, or hidden line render modes, which are generated live. The data pane will show any records or tags associated with the selected resource. And if all that wasn't enough, the Resource Manager palette itself has a large amount of customizability baked in as well. The buttons on the top right let you collapse or expand the left and right panes if you don't happen to need them at the moment and want to reclaim screen space for the other panes. Not only that, but if you want to reduce the overall size of the palette rather than have it expanded to fill most of the screen, as you reduce the size, you will see the controls reorganize themselves to remain useful no matter how the palette is sized. The last functional element remaining along the top when collapsed to the manager's smallest size will be Search, since it's the most capable and versatile of the interface elements on its own. However, you can still access these other modes by clicking on the double arrow icon on the top right. To wrap it all up, not only will you see these controls in the Resource Manager palette, but many tools in Vectorworks that rely on resources, such as doors, windows, marionette nodes, plants, lighting instruments, and the attribute palette, now have a miniature version of the Resource Manager built directly into their toolbars. This may seem like a minor change, but in many scenarios, it can mean that you don't even need to open the Resource Manager on a regular basis, with most of its functionality being replicated here and pre-configured to make sense for the tool you're currently using. For instance, this will let you quickly search the marionette node list or your entire plant library rapidly via the search field, without having to set them specifically for those resource types. The display will only show pertinent resource types. These panes will remember the settings applied to each resource selector individually, so you can easily make it very large, and then when you're done using it, it'll take up no space at all. So the manager not only benefits you when creating and managing resource libraries, but also speeds up drafting overall across a wide array of different resource-based tools.